since my graduating show when I finished my bachelor's degree, like 7 years ago now, was sort of the first time that I really decided to work with my family's archives in my practice, and I've never looked back since. So that first project started by sort of deconstructing the family album. My mom is very much a keeper of archives for our whole extended family, so I grew up with a lot of these things and always had an interest for them and for like the narratives of my family. So I sort of did a project using those family albums, which eventually I started using family video footage that my dad had taken and sort of deconstructing that, until more recently I've sort of stepped into working with more archival objects, so either fabrics or ceramic pieces, things that I extract the motifs from and use in various works. So my family is definitely my biggest source of inspiration, I think. My mother was a seamstress, so I grew up with my mother working from home, which is specifically why she chose to do that work. She had her own little company. So she worked out of the dining room and had all of these different swatches of fabrics that she would use for various clients that she had. So in 2016, I started, she had all these remnants. She no longer does that for work, but she kept a lot of the remnants of the fabrics, which I have memories of. Like I specifically remember all of these swatches and the years that she was working with them, because we would often play with the remnants as well as kids. So I started cataloging them, and I would either scan them or photograph them digitally in order to create like a catalog of all of these fabrics. So this specific motif I've been using a lot in the last 3 years, and it's one that she worked with on various clients. So I just remember having a lot of this fabric all over the house growing up. She also would take like the leftover fabrics and make me dresses and hats when I was a kid. So I remember having a dress made out of this fabric. I like working with these fabrics too, because I find for me it has an imprint on my memory, but it's a fabric that was sold and distributed in so many stores. So I like to think about how many houses and how many families this pattern has affected. Like, since my mom worked with her hands and worked with fabric, I remember all the draperies that we had throughout the years, because she would always change them since she would make them herself, and I kind of measure time with those different patterns of fabric. My mom's like a very avid storyteller, which I've always found interesting, because she exaggerates a lot, and like whether she realizes it or not, stories change every time she recounts them, which is something that our memory does automatically. I mean, the more you remember something, the less close it is to the actual fact. So that really interests me, and I find that my mom is probably my primary subject, because she embodies it totally. Like, she's a storyteller, she's a keeper of artifacts, she loves passing on the family folklore. I guess because memories are different layers, and as you gain experience and you gain more memories or more events happen, they kind of layer over top of each other, and that kind of builds, in a way, your character or your identity. I'm really interested in identity as like an imaginary construct, so that we have full control on who we are and who we present to others. For this specific work, I've been exploring this still lifes project for a while, and it's taken like different formations over the course of the last 3 years. My grandfather passed away last year, so when he passed away, he had a big house full of things, and my grandmother has passed. She's been passed for a while now, so my family inherited a lot of his belongings, and everyone was like, wow, let's give all the artwork to Alisa. She could probably use it. But the artwork in my grandfather's house were all of these Sears type faux paintings. So I had all of these frames with these like faux landscapes and things like that. So I decided through that work to explore loss and everything, like all the objects and the flooding of memory and all this stuff that you get after someone in your family or someone you care about passes. So I guess in this one, the layering is very much this like kind of accumulation of junk, whether it's material junk or emotional junk that you have to deal with when someone is gone. And it can be positive, but there's always some negative aspects to that as well. So I think for me, the accumulation in any project that I do is sort of what's happening in the space of my mind. I think a lot about my family history and the layers and why some members of my family act the way that they do and why I act the way that I do. And it's sort of like this thick, murky water that you're trying to sort through. And in a lot of what I do, the layering remains because it's hard as I work on trying to understand my family or understand myself through all of those layers. It's almost impossible. Like there's always a new layer or a new, so I like to keep that kind of accumulation because it's almost like, it's just never ending. I could research my family and try to understand it better for the rest of my life, but I probably will never get too close to an accurate answer or an accurate explanation of that.